You're listening to Pop This, the podcast where two women talk about everything pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen and Andrea Warner.
All right, so we've gone out of our, well, we're still in a pandemic. We're starting to see a little bit of hope. And now we have an actual bona fide heat wave. And this has come on so quickly that when I was doing my laundry today, I noticed I washed a sweatshirt. So last week, presumably, I was wearing a sweatshirt. And now all I am is having a sweaty shirt. So
yeah, now you're like no pants for life.
Yeah, I can't even remember wearing sweatshirts. It's always been so hot.
It feels like I can't remember when I didn't feel like this. It's
I know.
So hot. I actually don't mind the heat. You know what I call this weather? I always call it Phil Collins weather.
Wow.
No jacket required.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. I hate the heat with a wildfiery passion. However, we finally relented, I guess, and set up our like little portable air conditioner.
Oh.
And my God, what a difference it makes. I am no longer like swollen to twice my normal size. I'm back down to just a regular sized Andrea, and it feels great. So excited.
But don't you find, like,
lucky.
my thoughts on air conditioners always that it's cold. Like, you go from being hot, and then all of a sudden you're cold.
Yeah, I like
that's
cold.
the point.
That's
But
yeah,
if you're
it's like
cold,
100% the point.
No, like it's cold. Like you got to put a cardigan on or something.
That's the best part.
That's
putting extra
yeah.
blankets on the bed and having the air conditioner on full blast. I'm sorry for the next generation, but certain things need to be done.
Well,
I don't put an extra blanket on. Like it gets cold, but it's not so cold that like I'm like it's a small portable air conditioner. Like we don't have like intra apartment air conditioning like that. We're not wildly
When I saw the forecast
lucky.
for this weekend and it being over 30 on for the whole weekend, I was like,
Nope.
should I check into a hotel this weekend that has air conditioning? Because this is too much. I can't last.
You got to
Another
stimulate the
week.
local economy. It's great. Do it.
Yeah.
Also, I
don't
need
know
to
what I'm
point
gonna
out,
do.
this is Vancouver, and for us, a heat wave, it's going to be 30. Like that's a May day in Toronto. That is, that is a month ago in Montreal, and we don't have the humidity. And I mean, 3 years ago, I was living in 40-degree heat in Europe and no air conditioner. I don't know how I did it. I'm never doing it again.
because you're in Europe.
But yeah, I
Doesn't
mean,
feel
Well,
the
yeah.
same.
it still feels really uncomfortable, no matter where you
But
are.
you're in
40's
Europe.
kinda awful.
Every once in a while, you go, "I'm in Europe," right?
Yeah. There's that side of it, I guess.
So I again, like born and raised on the West Coast, and the only time I've really lived in a different place, like that's not West Coast, was the 5 months of summer from like late April to September in New York City. And I was not prepared. I did not understand that like it's when you leave the air conditioning of the anywhere that you are, you walk outside and you're like the air just is you're cutting through it with your body. You know,
No, it's like being in the Amazon. It's
thick.
It's thick and hot, and people are not great. They just look really put upon.
But you know, I was so young and excited to be in New York that like I didn't really mind it that much. I would do like the dumbest things of the whole. I look back on it now and I'm like, how did I even do this? But I would like walk from the office building at 39th and Madison to where I lived at 123rd and Riverside Drive. And I would do that after work because I just loved like walking through the city because I was that much of a dork for New York City.
That was one summer, though, right? Because I think
Yes.
your second summer would have cured you, and your third, from my experience, your
1,000%.
third summer in New York cures you.
And not that this would,
And I've never gone
You
back
get in
in the summer
cabs
either.
just to go a block. And
Yeah.
the subway is air conditioned, but the subway platform is the hottest thing on earth other
Oh
than
my
lava.
gosh, like Hades. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
it truly
definitely,
like just like
And there's the smell of
demon-
urine
Ugh.
permeating the
Yeah.
city. And summer in New York. No one's ever written a Summer in New York song that wasn't really gross.
No. No, and there's always like a crime spree that goes with it. There's like some kind of podcast out of it, and
You'd
they'll
want to
always
kill
be.
someone too. It's New York.
Yeah,
it's
they always
summer.
start.
God.
It was the hot, humid summer of New York. It was. It doesn't even matter what year. Like really, it doesn't.
just the
like-
hot humid summer. Yeah.
The movie we watched last week, In the Heights, it was all about their heat wave and the power failure. Like that's
and the power
stories of
outage
New
for
York.
like 3
Yeah.
days. Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know how we're gonna do it, but
I think, like I am so close to just pulling out the sprinkler and just doing like the 1970s kid thing and just running through the sprinkler.
You should honestly get a little kid pool for your backyard. And when I come to your backyard, you'll be like, well, I guess Andrea's taking her pants off. And we just
must be summer. Andrea's got her pants off.
Like clockwork, every June
Yeah.
23rd.
Never mind, no jacket required, no pants required.
I love the freshness of flying down from the heavens and landing on roller skates to just greet the breeze with my golden hair as I sail along and find a random mouth to kiss as soon as I get there. There is nothing as refreshing as that kind of summer day. And that's Xanadu.
That was
Wow.
smooth. That was very
That
smooth.
was smooth. And also helpful because I didn't know what Xanadu was, so thank you. I appreciate
That's
that.
Xanadu. Yeah, it's not. Forget the Kubla Khan and stuff like that. Like whatever. That's Xanadu.
I've been racking my brain since I finished this movie trying to figure out what it was about, so thank you.
No, it's just. Yeah, that's how we say hi to.
Yeah,
the
that's
heat
why
wave.
I'm here today. I'm waiting for you three to tell me what this movie's about.
Can't wait. Can't wait. I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
I'm Andrea Gin.
And I'm Stephen Schelling.
Yay!
Welcome.
We're so happy to have you back,
welcome,
Stephen.
welcome. What an
It's
important
exciting.
episode for you to be here with us.
Oh
too.
my
We
God.
Oh, absolutely. I can't believe. I mean, I'm so happy you asked me because this is a seminal film. Really.
In what particular
feel-
canon does this show up as a seminal film? Like where?
I'm not going to discuss the actual definition of the use of the term at this point.
Yes.
But use it any way you want.
Do you feel that we've sort of basically hate crimed you into being on this episode? Like it
A
was
little bit. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
We really came for you hard. and
We
I'm so
usually
sorry.
bring you on for some pretty high art, like Moonstruck, and the favorite.
Yes, exactly. Something that has depth, perhaps.
Cultural
This is-
relevance, yes.
One of the reasons that I was thinking about you for this, like, I don't know if it's entirely my fault.
Other
but,
than
like,
its deep-seated hatred that is slowly seeping out of you. But other than
Of
that,
course, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
No, but I feel like, okay, and so, tell me if I'm wrong, but did we both go see the Xanadu production at the unnamed theater company locally? That was actually kind of fun, like a number of years ago. And it was like a bunch of everyone's on roller skates, and it's a ridiculous musical.
Was
but
that
it's
not
like
Starlight Express?
it's a musical parody of Xanadu called Xanadu. Like it's sort of like
Oh, that's
mocking. But didn't you go with me, Stephen? Or like weren't we there at the same time?
I believe that you may be confused. I don't believe I've ever. I mean, a parody of it.
You
It's
would
a parody
remember
of itself.
that.
I would remember, and I probably would have stopped myself from going, having seen the film in my, mid-youth. I guess you
In
could
my
say.
brain, you were there, and we had a great time. And I'm so
You might have
sorry.
been there when we went to see that horrible Flashdance remake from Broadway across Canada.
Oh,
There was
yeah,
the
that
Flashdance
was-
musical. That was terrible.
That was not good.
Yeah.
What a feeling,
Legally
hey? What a
Blonde. That
feeling.
was-
Oh, it was quite the
yeah.
feeling. We left it intermission.
And the touring production of A Chorus Line. Do you remember? I think we also walked out of a Jesus Christ Superstar at one point.
Oh, definitely.
Anyway.
Stephen, I
Yeah.
walked out of a play with you. Do you see any plays? Do you actually stay for the whole thing?
I used to have to review them, and by the time I didn't have to review them anymore, I took advantage of the fact that I didn't have to stay for Act 2. I was reclaiming my time.
Not
Good
that
job.
I complained
Good job.
about going for cocktails instead, but I'm just saying that's a lot of walking out in
sometimes
the middle of a play.
a little marmar is a little better than Act 2, Scene 2, right? A little nip.
Completely agree. But I mean, so Xanadu is, so we are still in our series of musical movies and musicals, and we have extended the series, lucky listeners, by request from Andrea Gin, noted musical hater. So I just want it on
not
the record.
for Xanadu.
No, but I mean, in terms of sort of like being interested in keeping it going. So it's
And this is not the musical that's going to turn her, I think.
I can't wait to find out. Before I guess we get into all of it, let's read Stephen Schelling's bio. You may remember Stephen from episode 42, Gay Best Friend, from our episode about Moonstruck, or perhaps an episode about dangerous liaisons. And there might be more. I stopped looking. But Stephen is a professional gadabout, writer, fashion stylist, celebrity correspondent for Global TV, Vancouver, PR executive, huge Cher fan. That was probably relevant in the Moonstruck bio, but I'm going to keep it in there. And technically the person who brought me and Lisa together. So you're welcome, listeners.
You
Stephen,
really are. Hi.
thank you so much for returning.
Oh, and to be greeted with such warm words and such a lousy movie, I can't wait to get into it. It's so good.
It's all about the juxtaposition for us here at Pop This, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Andrea Gin, would you like to read the background?
Well, first of all, I was going to say, I don't exactly remember. Like, Stephen, you just came down like a muse from the heavens when we decided Xanadu. And all of a sudden, it was like, Stephen's our guest. And nobody remembers how it was decided or why. It just manifested itself.
And you just,
he's our
you
Kira,
were just
you guys.
here. Yes, he is.
He's our Kira.
I am, or Thirsticord. What is her name in the
Thirsticord.
Thirsticord? Something along
No, I'm
those
kidding.
lines.
I don't remember. But Thirsticord I like a lot.
She is a bit
Okay, so I'll
thirsty,
do
so
the
it does
background.
work, doesn't it?
I'll do the background. Xanadu is a 1980 American musical fantasy film written by Richard Christian Danis and Mark Reed Rubel and directed by Robert Greenwald. It stars Olivia Newton-John, Michael Beck, and Gene Kelly in his final film role.
Oh,
The film
boy.
features music by Newton-John, Electric Light Orchestra, Cliff Richard, and the Tubes. The title is a reference to the nightclub in the film, which takes its name from Xanadu, the summer capital of Kublai Khan's Yuan dynasty in China. The city appears in Kublai Khan by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, an 1816 poem that is quoted in the film.
Okay.
Lisa, do you want to take the synopsis?
For what it's worth, sure. So, from Entertainment Weekly. A frustrated painter named Sonny, played by Michael Beck, decides to open a roller disco after meeting a comely but mysterious skater named Kira Newton-John.
That sentence is insane.
This is very much a 1980 movie. He's helped by a jazz musician turned construction magnate, Gene Kelly, who decades before had a relationship with someone who eerily resembles Kira. In fact, however, Newton-John's character is an ancient muse whose romantic feelings for Sonny transgress immortal law. Eventually, their love triumphs over this obstacle. The end. Is that what that whole dance sequence was about? That was their love triumphing over the obstacle?
I think that was a costume
Sorry,
budget.
jumping ahead.
That was the very first thing Carlos said to me was like, he's like, the cocaine budget for this film is huge.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I know.
I would say even the cocaine budget for the pre-production of this film, those 1970s, 80-year-old Hollywood producers in the backyard just doing rails off of their 20-year-old girlfriend's abs and coming up with this idea for, this is what the kids will love. It's roller disco. I went to one last weekend. You're going to love it. I
And
could
you know
just
what
see
else
this.
will bring the kids in? Gene Kelly. That's who we
That's
need.
right.
Okay, I have to say, so
I was
And
like,
Tommy Dorsey and Glenn Miller. That's what the kids are hankering for.
that was my first question when I saw Gene Kelly's name rotating around the space, like the spaceship in the credits or whatever. Is why is he in this film? And so I Google why is Gene Kelly in Xanadu? And the first answer that comes up is that Gene Kelly was took the role in Xanadu because it was a short drive from his Beverly Hills home to the movie shoot.
I mean,
the
that makes me
reason.
feel a little bit better. You know. That,
okay, so Gene Kelly, it was so this is Grandma doesn't watch all the movies with us. She's still convalescing with us. She's still in our home. But she watched Xanadu with us. And I have to say, it was a kind of fascinating thing because I think Gene Kelly is what kept her watching the film. She's walked out of many others that
He's the best part of this movie, for
he is
sure.
the best part of this movie for sure. I actually am so grateful for Gene Kelly showing up in this movie. Like this would not be tolerable at all without Gene Kelly.
And that's a sentence you probably
Also-
thought you'd never say before.
I never ever thought I'd say it. What a
How is it-
graceful elder statesman of roller skates. He is flawless on those skates.
How is it that he's better at roller skating than Olivia Newton-John? And
Oh my
She
God, that
broke
is
her
so true.
coccyx. She broke her coccyx in the filming of this though. So to be fair, like she was gonna have a harder time on roller skates. But Michael Beck has no excuse.
Did
Like,
you?
Well, he does have an
Sorry,
excuse.
I'm
He's
gonna get really
wooden.
specific here, but when she was like she was showing him like her exercise routine and warm-ups and roller skating around, and at the end of that song when he picks her up, did you feel for a second like he lurches forward?
yeah.
And
Is that
I
where
was
he
like,
broke her?
yeah, is that did like is he gonna drop her? Like I thought that for a second. He like lurches the way everybody who doesn't roller skate well lurches on roller skates.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just like, could they have not done another take of that where it was just no, yeah.
They couldn't.
So.
They couldn't. But honestly, Gene Kelly glides on those roller skates.
I know.
cannot. He was like 75 or 78 or something. Like he is amazing on those roller skates.
And still more charming than Michael Beck in this movie. Like, seriously. If it came
The
down to it, I
scenery
think
is more charming
Kira
than
made,
Michael Beck.
Kira
Truly,
made the wrong
truly.
choice. I mean, I know she'd already been with him, apparently, and his... Obviously not expecting her to come back, but it didn't anyway. The number of
you
things that didn't
imagine,
make
like,
sense.
Yeah, she had mused or inspired like Gene Kelly's character already. He'd been like pretty lovely, but Sonny is the guy that she's just like, you know what? I'm gonna take a break from my immortality. And I think it would be fun to just grow old with this guy. There is nothing interesting about Sonny at all.
And the fact that we have to keep buying into this whole idea that he's like, I don't even care where you live. I don't care who you are. There's no red flags here for me. Like, this seems like a really great idea. Like, I'm going to throw myself, I'm going to fall in love with you. I know nothing about you. And quite frankly, you seem a little bit odd. No, quite odd. And that's okay by me. 100%. Like, this whole thing is seeming right above board. Like, I'm sorry. That's just the beginning
Did you
of
notice
my rants, but
the second time that he runs into Kira when they've already had their "Hi, I don't know you" kiss, and then she skates off, and then later he's down at the Venice boardwalk or on the beach. It doesn't matter. No one cares. He's in a place near a beach, and Kira roller skates by. And he goes, oh, wait a minute. That's the girl that I was painting this morning. Yikes. And then he runs up to some women who are on their bikes and just goes, I need your bike. And the woman's like, sure, hot stuff. Like, what world is this?
also, did
What part
anyone
of
notice that
1979 LA is that?
when he rode his bike and all of a sudden the weather changed? It was all of a sudden raining on the pier? Like
Oh, Santa Monica.
The only pleasurable part of that was watching the actor who played Sonny seemingly performing his own stunt and flying into the water screaming an expletive. That to me felt really good. Like, I'm sure maybe they did have a stuntman, but like it looked like the actual actor going in.
Well, how did Gene
and I
Kelly catch
really
up with
took
him and he
delight.
rode his bike there? Like suddenly Gene Kelly's on the end of the pier.
Yeah, he's just magic. He probably followed the trail of popcorn that Sonny left behind him. Because you have to buy popcorn. Like everything about how this movie is written is so terrible.
But when he comes back to work and those coworkers are all, "Oh, we missed you." He's complete a-hole. Why would?
Could someone because I know the movie spends a lot of time on this, talking about his job and trying to explain what he does. But could somebody tell me, like, I know they paint, but like, what is that art used for?
He said that
they
put
said
outside
it was
record
put in
stores.
record stores. So he
They
paints
used to
album
hand
covers.
painted art in multiple record stores.
I have no recollection of this.
There used
the
to be
regular.
record stores. I mean, the world has changed since 1979/80.
No, but he also does the sides of vans. And
right,
I feel like
right.
he perhaps
Which is not
has
a
done the
similar
occasional,
skill, is it?
You know, I guess if you paint, you just can paint anything, apparently.
Yeah, I guess. Wow.
And this is and it's not that he's necessarily the best, but he's the fastest. So
That's right.
He is a
so
real
he gets the good clients.
the
That's
good
right.
the good clients. Yeah.
And
I
did
just,
anybody notice
like-
the way he paints Olivia Newton-John? And then her face, the way it's painted, and the amount of eyeliner, and then on the actual movie poster, she looks like one of the children of the Corn. She looks like she's going to kill you. It is so unflattering. It's this really stark gaze where lasers, you would not be surprised, would come out of her eyes. However, it being Xanadu, if lasers were to come out of their eyes, they would have a golden sheen around them, like a Tron Disney movie.
I loved all the laser work. I know I'm going to be bold here. And I didn't even take an edible. Like, I was just watching it sober. And I loved every single time a laser came up on the screen. I thought, what is it going to do now? How will this enhance my understanding of the story? And it never does.
No.
And I just thought that's a beautiful, like, they were like, you know what? We got this technology and we think we're at the cutting edge of what lasers can do. And then they did it. For any good reason? No. But they did it.
But they did it because the kids got all of it.
Also, they dip into like full animation for a part of the movie.
Yes.
But why?
Why? I know.
And then
Well, 'cause
they
they're
cheap out on
magic.
those
You have to
scenes in that
believe.
studio where he's going around those palm trees and like, what was that? I mean,
So had anybody seen this movie before this moment?
no.
Unfortunately, I had.
No.
Yes.
Okay. So Stephen, you
Never
are
all the way through.
the expert.
I have seen
Never all the way
several
through. Okay.
pieces of it put together. And then you had mentioned earlier edibles. In my misspent youth, I may or may not have indulged in a natural hallucinogen that sometimes is found on pizzas. And I may or may not have come home late at night, and it may or may not have been the late night movie. And I may or may not have caught that last big dance number with all the flashing disco lights and all the costume changes and the big song, Xanadu. And I may or may not have lost my mind at that point.
It felt like I was on drugs because I really was. I was like, I kept rewinding. Maybe I missed something, a line, something that connects this thing to whatever else I just watched leading up to it.
Imagine if you had been on drugs and you couldn't rewind and there was no context because you don't own a VCR yet. And life just comes at you fast, I guess. And there's the end of Xanadu. And now you're supposed to go to bed and wake up and go to your minimum wage store job the next day. So, it was, wow. I
What a
never will
beautiful
forget
journey.
that moment. Thank
Honestly,
you.
that is a beautiful journey.
I never saw the movie, but I think for sure I had the album as a child, and it was like one of my favorites.
It's
The
honestly
songs are great. I mean, you
fun
can't go
record.
wrong
Like,
with
it's a-
ELO, as the kids say. I mean,
yeah, it's a
Yes.
pretty great record.
The song Xanadu. Now, I first watched this 2 weeks ago when I tried to watch the whole thing 2 weeks ago when Andrea first said, hey, do you want to do this? And I thought, I'll get it out of the way. And I only watched a little bit of it. But the song, Xanadu, stuck in my head for the next 2 weeks. It's still been in my head nonstop, especially that crescendo-y ending where her voice gets all electronic Do You Believe Cher with the auto-tune, like the original beta version of it. It's been stuck in my head ever since. My best friend doesn't want to hang out with me because I'll just start sort of singing Xanadu under my breath at the most inopportune moments. So it'll stick with you. It's an earworm.
So like for real, I'm 1,000% sincere about this. Lisa, I know that you love a makeover scene in a film. This might be my favorite makeover scene in a film ever.
Sure, but I didn't feel like Gene really needed such a
He didn't need one.
He did not need one. Michael Beck needed one.
Michael Beck needed one desperately. But Gene Kelly looks like he's having the time of his damn life.
I will give you that, and I hope he was.
I honestly, that's why I knew going in that everyone was like, oh God, this was Gene Kelly's last film. Poor guy. Must have like roller skated into his grave, blah, blah, blah. But like, I actually think either he's such a professional that like he just aced his performance, or he was just like, this is bonkers stupid and I'm going to have a great time. I get to dance with this like young girl who's like beautiful and like 50 years my senior. I get to dance a bunch and they're going to respect me because I'm Gene Kelly
Junior.
And I'm roller skating.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Incredible. Yeah. And I'd like to think though that people will still go, but remember An American in Paris. Can we please just...
Well, sure.
Or Singing in the Rain.
Or Singing in the Rain, obviously. But, you know...
I get it. I understand we haven't honored Gene Kelly in this moment, but I'm going to, like, rewatch that makeover scene again and again and again.
Did you notice, though, that in his makeover, he basically was wearing almost the identical thing that he started with? He did a few costumes, but then he basically wore like a Gene Kelly outfit, you know, and it could have been from Guys and Dolls or something. It was just like, you know, a plaid suit. It was very suit-suity.
Was Fred Astaire busy, or how did this come about? Like, I mean, just...
According to the internet, the set was a short drive from his home.
The set was a short drive from his home.
Yeah. Okay, can I just give my big...
Because Fred Astaire lived 3 blocks further away, so he wasn't willing to drive through Brentwood to get to the studio.
I feel a need to say this rant because this is what happened to me during and after. This horrible sense of that there were a bunch of dudes in a room writing this who are beyond self-important, as we can only imagine Hollywood people would be, like men, especially in the late 70s in LA. That the idea that of not being recognized for your genius, which you don't have, the fact that you want to open up a seedy nightclub in LA and somehow you think this is worthy of a Greek muse to visit you. A Greek muse who could be visiting anyone. God knows, in the time she spent with Sonny in this stupid place, who else was out there trying to work on the actual, like, greatest... She said she ended up in some of Shakespeare's sonnets. You went from Shakespeare to Sonny? Like, this is the most entitled man story that I've ever seen, and dear God knows we've been doing this podcast enough to do a lot of entitled male roles. But the very fact that they would think that a muse would be interested in this guy and helping him open a nightclub is... Okay, rant over.
This truly is the white straight male fever dream, of course. Yes. Absolutely. 1,000%.
Plus, it's extremely reductive.
Yes.
Yes. Olivia Newton-John's character is like this original manic pixie dream girl.
Oh, yes. Gosh, yes.
Well, it's based on the Rita Hayworth character. This movie's vaguely based on an old Rita Hayworth movie, which is... Anyway, long story short, it's a whole... Yes, we all know we hate it. I also think that like the idea that it's everything that was going wrong at the end of the 70s in one film. So they'd had Saturday Night Fever, so they had to have disco, but roller disco now. That'll bring them in. And then they bring Sandy from Greece in to be their lead in a musical. But the most choreography she did in Greece was stubbing out a cigarette with her toe. So then they get her to dance with Gene Kelly. And then they bring in Gene Kelly because, again, that'll bring in the kids. And then Michael Beck had just done Warriors. And so, people, it gives him some indie street cred. On paper, it's ridiculous. And then the execution is horrible. And it's a musical. And the choreography is some of the worst choreography in the history of cinema.
Agreed.
In the history of film. You could go back to the 1800s and you will not find worse choreography.
I could not even find my kitsch level to enjoy it because it made me so angry. Like I was just angry all the time. Like this is insulting.
Also, like I've never held a video camera in my life, but I could, like the scenes were shot from a very strange position.
Yes.
It's a musical and everybody was shot 3/4 up. No one's feet were showing, maybe because they couldn't roller skate. But then I would assume that your backup chorus dancers, who were also on roller skates and occasionally you saw their feet, that they couldn't, but they had them glommed together in old school Broadway clumps. And they were all being shot from the waist up. And it made no sense. Their arms are flailing. And assumedly, they're running around the track. And poor Gene Kelly, when he has to go, come on, guys, let's skate. And you're like, oh, God, Gene, is this what it's come to? And you know that in a few short months, he's going to be dead after he does a few guest appearances on the Love Boat. And you just feel that it's such an ignominious end to such a glorious
This is
career.
like Orson Welles making wine commercials.
Yes.
It just really...
At least the outtakes are funny, though. I don't know that the outtakes from Xanadu even rise to comedy level. It's so sad.
I just couldn't.
Really
there wasn't
Gene in this, though.
Oh, I
really
did.
did.
Because Gene is charming. He is lovely. But I would have, just as Love Boat, I think he probably played some kind of like dashing criminal, or at least Angela Lansbury's love interest in Murder, She Wrote. And I would prefer to see that as his last role.
But his like dance sequences, like he himself is pretty good. And I will point out that like Kenny Ortega does the choreography for this film, who goes on to be like a pretty substantial choreographer. Like he's Dirty Dancing. He ends up directing a bunch of Gilmore Girls and a bunch of other films. He still choreographs to this day. Like Xanadu is not necessarily his finest outing, but like Olivia Newton-John in one of the interviews I read said that she thought his choreography was decades ahead of and that it moves that were not seen on screen for another 20 years.
Which
so
specifically,
he was the Bob Fosse of the disco era? Like,
That's what she said.
Wow, that is when you are really far up your something. But
Can we talk about Olivia Newton-John for a second?
Yes.
Oh, she tried so hard.
This is the movie that she chose to do after Grease.
She's C.F. Holly Berry's career as well. After winning the Oscar, she does Catwoman. So
I have range. I have range. Oh my God, you don't.
Have you ever read a little, like gone to her Wikipedia page? And she's had a long and glorious career, but like it's incredible. Like she was did you know she was a country music star?
Yeah.
When she started? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But then also, like she stars in Grease. She goes from that into doing Xanadu, which has like a spectacular soundtrack that is, a success, even if the movie was a flop.
5 hit singles.
Then she goes into she releases like her most successful studio album to date, Physical, which, like it's banned in like Utah because it's too sexual or so she has to pivot the video to being about aerobics.
Yeah.
And she starts the aerobics phase, and Physical becomes like the biggest hit of the 80s. And she's like she creates the anthem for aerobics.
Yeah.
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 And it says on the Wikipedia page that she basically pioneered the music video industry because she was the first person to record a video album for Physical.
Fascinating.
I just don't think she was very good in this. That's all.
I think she tried very hard, but I, as someone who used to be, and as a failed former actor, you can only work so hard if your scene partner is a wall And in
That's
this
the
case,
thing.
Michael
Yeah,
Beck gives nothing. You can see her eyes are bugging out of her head. I've never seen forehead wrinkles on anybody so deep in my life because she's emoting with plus she's trying, no, I'm a muse. I'm a Greek goddess. And she has to give these lines with some semblance of normalcy and believe it. And she has to give them to a man who might as well be an ironing board for all the charisma that is coming off of him. It's shocking.
Even when he's wearing his small shorts, all I could think was like, I mean, yeah, he's got okay thighs, but you can't cast based on thighs. Not unless he's going to be in shorts the whole time. He
said that getting the role in the Warriors opened so many doors for him, and getting the role in Xanadu closed all of them. And I'm like,
maybe if he'd
fair.
tried.
Yeah,
that's
fair.
But in Warriors, all he had to do was walk around shirtless and swing a baseball bat.
Hey, he had a vest on.
But it wasn't much of a vest. It was one of those little 70s vests. Everything was smaller.
It covered
in the
his
70s.
nipples, but that's it.
Not really.
I have such
there was a lot of nipples.
I have such fondness for the Warriors.
I've never seen it.
I've seen it so many times, and I made my children watch it with me, because hey, you get to go through Mom's oeuvre now.
Yeah.
Two of the greatest films my son and I ever watched together were Warriors and Point Break, and both times he looked at me and went, "That was the best film I've ever seen." I'm like, "You're 9, but okay, I'll take it."
Yeah, I think Olivia Newton-John tried her hardest in this, and I think she obviously like photographs really beautifully. She is, sort of Vaselined and glowing at every single turn. She's singing with as much charm as she has. That sounded like damning with faint praise, but I mean that she, I think, did a good job. But he is just like, I was just like, this is a time when you could cast like truly like nothing men, and expect like a beautiful woman to just carry the whole thing, and that people are going to show up because she's a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
And like, I'd love to just share a couple of like the really terrible reviews. Esquire, 1 sentence appraisal of Xanadu, in a word, Xanadon't, of course. Yeah, well done. Variety called it a stupendously bad film whose only salvage is the music. Fair. Roger Ebert gave the film 2 stars, which is honestly pretty generous, describing it as a mushy and limp musical fantasy with a confused story redeemed only by Olivia Newton-John's, quote, high spirits and several strong scenes from Kelly. Ebert criticized the choreography, saying, quote, the dance numbers in this movie do not seem to have been conceived for film.
Well, I can see what he's saying, because there's the whole last Xanadu number is going around in circles around the dance club and around the roller rink and dance club.
What did it
mean?
Rink. Why did she keep changing? Like, was that the muse idea? Like, she changed shape? But I didn't even think that's what a muse was supposed to do. Like, I don't even.
I tried to make some sense of this and go and do a little background check. Apparently, they were trying to meld together the worlds of the 1940s musical, hence Gene Kelly, with the 1980s musical. And so by showing all the genres, they were trying to thematically show that things that are brought together can be stronger than their component parts. Having failed miserably at that, then you could sort of go, ooh. But apparently that was the original intent.
But they pitted them against each other. So that doesn't even make sense.
Well, the whole movie doesn't make sense.
But I mean, anyone who was watching that scene where they walked in the club and like Gene is imagining this big band and Sonny is imagining, I don't know what that was. That was like something out of Solid Gold number or something. I don't know. But
it was rock and roll, Lisa.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely what... I mean, heck, come on. Iron Maiden was around by then. This was... I don't even know what that was, but I'm just like... I was just... Anyone watching the movie is going, oh, well, I mean, obviously big band, and I never thought I'd say that. But if I had to watch that thing over there, I mean, there's no way that I would be... Like, I don't even... It was so disgusting. disgustingly bad and boring and baffling. It was a baffling scene that went on. Like, when you look at this movie, the musical numbers went on way too long.
I guess like it could have been so much more fun. And it's so poorly written. Like, even all of the things that sort of like from like a filming style, like even if the choreography is not good, or even if like Michael Beck is really wooden and like just as useless as, you know, like just, I don't know, extra teeth. Like, it's just, he doesn't, like, if the film had at least been written a little bit more competently, it could have been a much better experience. But what would you write?
But what could have, what would have, like, what?
Well, like, I might not have done a super hard cut to like, I'm a muse, and then he's all like, I'm glad one of us is having a time, and then suddenly they're off a rooftop and sitting in a dull apartment for no reason, as she tries to explain.
And what was that TV sequence? It made no sense. I don't understand what that was.
She can control time and television. She's got magic abilities that she doesn't make use of on a continuous basis.
And if the coolest thing in the movie is that she can rewrite the dictionary on the spot, boy, oh boy, I don't honestly, even like.
If you can do that, again, you can make a human that's better than Sunny.
You can meet a lot of different men, Kira.
There's so many. That's the thing. This needs an intervention for Kira, because she does not think enough of herself to want more, and this makes me sad.
In Lord of the Rings, when Liv Tyler's character throws it all away because she's going to be with Viggo Mortensen, we're all, yes, that checks out. 100%. King guy is worthy of giving up your mortality for your immortality. In this movie, you're like, I don't know, is this coming up where there's some sort of, if I decide to stay with you, I have to give up my status as a muse? You would do that for this man?
I think it's I would expect that, like, temporal suspension, maybe, like, after she's like danced like 3 more times around the club with him, she's gonna start to see some flaws. Like,
I have a Greek mythology question. So the muses, as far as I know,
then we can answer for sure.
Yes, each one of them had their own specific niche, right? So there was the muse of music, the muse of poetry. Yeah. So who's the muse of roller disco, and when did this come into the fold? Because
nightclubs. Can there be anything more grim than a nightclub? I mean, that's what Saturday Night Fever did well. It's a depressing place. We all go there. We carve out a good evening, but it's no place you want to be.
She's obviously the muse of interior design. It just happens to manifest as nightclub. And the disco is, I think, incidental to it. It's just a sign of the times. I also feel, and this is why I actually can't even believe I'm going to recommend this, but like, the musical version is really fun because it actually wants to be silly and kind of over the top and make fun of the actual film of Xanadu in the right ways. Like, it's actually quite a successful,
I can see that
musical.
All I want to do is just, find somebody who made something out of this that.
Well, something did come out of this, Lisa, that's incredibly important to our culture, and that is the Razzies.
Oh, wow. Oh, it was that bad that it spawned the Razzies.
Well, let me share some information with you. I will try not to read this whole thing, but there's some information that needs to be shared. So this is from the AV Club. Inspired by a double bill of Can't Stop the Music and Xanadu, John Wilson founded the Golden Raspberry Awards, known as the Razzies, to honor the very worst in cinematic achievement every year. Xanadu did not take worst film at the Razzies inaugural ceremony, but it did earn nominations in all of the major categories. And director Robert Greenwald, who went on to make documentaries outfoxed Robert Murdoch's War on Journalism and Walmart, The High Cost of Low Price, was honored for his colossal ineptitude. Entertainment Weekly expanded on this, giving details that I think are just delightful. After paying 99 cents to see a double bill of Xanadu and the Village People epic Can't Stop the Music, Razzies founder John Wilson demanded a refund, but was refused. Quote, Xanadu is a touchstone of movie wretchedness, he rages 27 years later. Quote, seeing Gene Kelly, who did Singin' in the Rain, doing these clunky roller disco moves with people throwing bowling pins over his head, it is almost like he had gone to hell before he died.
Wow. That makes me really curious about Can't Stop the Music.
I've never seen it.
Oh,
have
it's
you
bad.
guys ever seen
It is
it?
so
Is it? Okay.
bad.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I sometimes.
So the Village People are
Wow.
straight, and they're playing themselves, telling the story of Studio 54 / The Village People. But nobody's gay because that wouldn't have sold tickets to the kids. It's 1979.
What you
It's,
needed was Gene Kelly in that movie. That's,
Honestly, Gene Kelly could have saved it. Like, let's face
I
it.
think
Like,
Ginger Rogers had a cameo. I'm not sure. There was.
so let us spend a couple minutes then with the music. Did everyone have a favorite musical number in this film?
Yeah, for me, it was
Yes.
the title track at the very end. The whole cast skating around and around and around and around and around, and you thought it would never, ever end.
Oh, so true. I too prefer the Xanadu big grand finale, mostly for the costume changes and the ridiculous sort of juxtaposition of the 1930s tap dancing with the rock and roll whip kitten vixens. I think that might actually be one jump cut, and then you've got it goes to country where they do the yeehaw leg move while wearing like 4-inch fringe. So the costumes alone, and maybe it's just me, reclaiming my drug-addled youth, but it was a nice memory to see it, I guess sober-ish. I think I was only half a bottle of rosé in at the time, so that's my pick.
Lisa, did you have any
No.
song that you?
I mean,
love it.
I have a soft spot for ELO just for their grand songs. They're so epic, and I love a big giant song.
Yeah. So I can't remember the song that goes along with the makeover section, so I can't pick that because obviously it didn't stick enough in my head. And I do really hate the opening number with the muse
I'm
is
Alive
kind of
or
coming
whatever?
alive, but I love the song I'm Alive because I just think
great
it's
song.
so fun. It's so fun. And honestly, when Olivia Newton-John does come alive and she does that thing where she like spreads her hands out and the neon like I just big fan of the neon work in this film. I can't help it.
I just found also the roller
I just
skating
love
to be
it.
particularly distracting because everyone was so wooden, and that was another part that made this so irritating to watch because they're all really bad at it. And it just struck me as if you're going to have roller skating as the big part of your movie, why wouldn't you hire people who can roller skate?
Do you really think like Xanadu is like it's become a cult classic? So what are people responding to? I know what I've responded to personally, but like, do you think that it's like sort of one of those like cult classics that like it shouldn't be a cult classic? People are just like just ironically loving it, or do you think people are genuinely finding some affection for just something in it beyond the terribleness?
Well, the Rocky Horror Picture Show is a pretty bad movie.
Yeah, the musical numbers are pretty fun, but
the musical
movie
numbers are
itself is
great,
terrible.
so it's got
Yeah.
that over Xanadu, but the rest of the movie is very boring. And I remember getting dragged along to see that and expecting I was going to be doing the time warp all night, and I was not. It was boring. So the mystery of a cult classic is like, I'm waiting. I don't know. I'm curious to hear what all of you say. How many years do you think till Cats becomes that cult classic?
I think it already has become, hasn't it?
Already?
Like
It
they're
happened
they're
right
doing
away?
midnight showings. Well,
There you
pre-pandemic,
go,
I think they
see?
did a couple of midnight. That's what it is. It's a midnight showing that is
Yeah,
your
you're right.
hallmark as,
You wear
as
your
a cult
roller
classic.
skates, yeah, and I don't know
And
what those dresses
and there's all different
were.
types of cults, right? So it might not be my cult. Xanadu is definitely not my cult, but for some people, that might be there. And whether they're enjoying it ironically or whether they're enjoying it, lustily and with a full heart, it's not up to us to say. I don't necessarily. I don't want to meet anybody who loves Xanadu for what it is.
I have never known this side of you, Stephen, and I enjoy it.
A pandemic isolation, it does wonders.
Yes,
I love it.
Edges.
Yeah, just let people do what they want to do. That said, I do believe that those people should be kept far away from me, and I don't want to have them. I don't want them.
I can't recommend it. I mean, there's a lot of those bad movies where you go, yeah, see it. It's hilariously bad. I couldn't do that with this because even though it was only 90 minutes, and yes, I did appreciate that. Because, dear God, it could have only been half an hour and I still would have probably complained. But I can't think of like the overarching story of this useless man being rescued by a muse irritates me so badly that I can't recommend the fun, campy element to it because the story I find so insulting.
Yeah, like I would like. We'll get to the pops in a second, but I agree with you there. AG, how do you feel about do you have any affection for the cult classic element of it, or can you understand it?
I think I can understand it because it's everything that is campy that you think about like the 70s and the early 80s, and like I watched it with fascination, and I laughed a lot, and I felt sad for Gene Kelly. There's like just so much going on in it that it's just
nothing at all. Yeah,
it's just fascinating, and I think that's what a cult classic is. It's just fascinating.
I feel like there could be easily. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say I wanted to know which came first. The ribbons in Kira's hair, were those a thing that became something, because I remember those. Did they become something because of Kira and Xanadu, or were those already existing and then became an early 1980s look for young ladies? I still don't know, and I didn't care enough to research, but I thought I'd bring it up and throw it out there.
And her off-the-shoulder dresses that were always what was that?
The proto flash dance, yeah. Well, it was sort of that Lady Diana does flash dance. It was off the shoulder, but ruffles. All ruffles.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, boy.
I feel like there are a number of pieces that I did not read that pertain to Xanadu as cultural influence in fashion and style, but I did not read those pieces last night because I was just like, I gotta get through this. But I think that they do exist. But I would, my dream version of this film would be just cut down to 27 minutes. And have only the real nuts and bolts of what I enjoy about certain dance sequences, with just enough story that you still know what's going on, because how could you not? This is the dumbest movie in the world and nothing happens. So you don't need much more than just
and that's your dream version, because my dream version is another film, just any other film.
So, Stephen, you're saying, does this movie pop for you?
Like a bullet leaving the chamber of a gun against your brain pan makes the same pop noise. Yes.
Wow.
That's my. It is still a cultural touchstone, and I will never get that song out of my head. We're going on 2 weeks now, guys, and I know I can't sing it here, but. Whew, yeah, it's stuck in there, and I swear to God, my friend Derek is probably going to stop hanging out with me, as I said earlier. We're on the verge.
So, Lisa, I'm guessing no pops from you.
Wait, what do you hear? I'm gonna give it a very, very strong, deafening silence.
Wow. Wow. I like that. We haven't graded anything like that yet, so that's impressive. AG?
So I'm going to say this movie has the worst dialogue you'll ever hear. It has the worst choreography you'll ever see. And it's got the dumbest plot maybe of any. It's probably going to be the most objectively terrible film you see. But I think, people should still see it once because of all of these things that are coming together in this one force of a movie that doesn't make any sense.
So it's not really a pop.
Don't look for it on the Criterion Collection anytime soon.
But it's a pop culture. It's a pop culture penance that we all must do.
Yes.
In order to understand references.
I'll say that. Yes, I will say. And also, just if you want to remind yourself of how lucky you are to see good films, Just take yourself down a journey to a really bad film, and then you can sit there and go, wow, character development is a really underestimated part of movies.
Yeah, writers have value when they're used properly. I mean, this is like one of those little quarter pops for me, but I completely do think it's worth seeing because it's ridiculous, and I really, you know what? I love unabashedly and unironically Gene Kelly's performance. I think it's fantastic. We do love to leave our episodes on things we actually recommend. So, Stephen, as our guest of honor, would you like to go first?
Yes, actually, you were talking about doing penance and self-flagellation at certain points. And it actually works in really well to what I want to recommend. I found this podcast called The Turning, The Sisters Who Left. And it is about the sisters who left Mother Teresa's, quote unquote order, but kind of cult. And so it's these women who have left the order. I'm only into episode 3. Apparently there's 6, but we're going to get, they keep saying we're going to get to the good stuff, but, which is the bad stuff. But at this point, they've got 2 former sisters who left the missions of charity or whatever it's called for disparate reasons. And they're doing this sort of, they're giving their side of the story and what it was like. And they were both, one of them was extremely close to Mother Teresa. And it was considered a betrayal when she left. It's on all of your podcasts. I think it's an iHeartRadio, but it's on all of your podcast streamy platforms if you want to look it up. So it's a very interesting 6-parter so far.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm
a little light listening during the late pandemic.
After Xanadu, you feel like you need a really like a salad of some sort that you're gonna get something out of,
some sort of palate cleanser. Yeah, yes, even if it's a sorbet or a chugging of vodka
anything.
Bottle. Yeah, anything.
Amazing. All right, Lisa, would you like to go next?
Well, I'll just tell you that I am 2 episodes into Loki on Marvel.
Yes.
And I have been enjoying it. I mean, I think the best description of it is to call it Marvel Does True Detective, because we've got our little combination here of Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson. And I'm telling you, I'll never get bored of watching Owen Wilson in a movie. I don't care how bad the rom-com is. I don't care. I just love watching him. And he really feels like he's come into something like, he's playing kind of an older, kind of crusty dude, but he still sounds like Owen Wilson. So I have 2 episodes in, and I'm definitely going to stay with it. So Loki.
That's awesome.
On Disney
Owen
Plus.
Wilson's my favorite. Owen Wilson is like my favorite Matthew McConaughey. Like, I hate Matthew McConaughey, as we know. And I love Owen Wilson. And I feel like he's like my version of Matthew McConaughey that a lot of other people really love. But like, they have like that similar sort of like weird pronunciations of things and like the drawl and the laid back and stuff. Owen Wilson's my dude. Yeah.
Wow. You'll love this.
Thanks, Lisa. AG, what about you?
So the combination of this heat we were talking about and watching Xanadu has basically broken my mind. Like, I can't think. And so I'm just going to recommend the only thing I can think about right now, which is shaved ice desserts.
Oh, yes. Like in Hawaii, they're big on those.
Yeah. So everybody just Google shaved ice dessert near me, because there's tons of these little shops around, and they basically make like the consistency of snow, and they put all kinds of like fruit and ice cream and stuff on top of it. Like, you can choose your toppings, and it's like the best, most refreshing thing you can eat right now in this heat wave.
That is a perfect recommendation. Yeah,
that's a great idea. We have been freezing watermelon. Like, I'll eat a ton of watermelon, but what I can't get through before it gets a little bit soft, then Carlos freezes and turns into drinks. So sometimes like a watermelon lemonade that then I put gin in.
Ooh,
nice.
And, always put gin in something, yeah.
Yeah. So and the frozen watermelon really makes a difference. Great recommendations, everyone. I am going to recommend some music. There's a couple songs out right now, but the full album does not come out until July 23rd. It is a record called La Marea, and it's by an artist called Lola, at Lollaa, and they are sisters, Mexican Canadian sisters, and they had their English language debut 4 years ago. This record is in English and Spanish, and it's like super influenced. This is who they name check as their sort of like sonic foundation. Daniela Romo, Gloria Estefan, Camilla Sesto, Debbie Harry, and Donna Summer. Huh? And it's such a good freaking record, you guys. Like, I love it so much. And one of the lead single that's out right now is called Disco Serenata, and it's phenomenal. So just, you want to feel like pure joy? This is the record for you this summer.
You know, I was walking by my free library.
Yeah.
And I went in and there weren't any good books, but there was a Kylie Minogue CD.
Nice.
And
Score.
That's been my driving around music for the past couple
Which
of
CD
days.
is it?
And it's the one with I Just Can't Get You Out of My Head. I don't know what the name of that one.
Yes. Okay. I know which
classic,
one it is,
classic,
classic,
Kylie.
Absolute, yes.
They'll always pick
That's
Kylie over
peak,
Kira.
actually. That would be peak
peak.
Kylie. That was her biggest hit, I believe, ever internationally.
Yeah, no,
So.
it all sounds like hits though. All of the songs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in.
Yay, Kylie. All right. Well, these are all great recommendations. Stephen, it's been so delightful to spend time with you
Thank
again.
It's been lovely to
Thank
be here with you guys. It's been lovely to
Thanks
Thanks
savage
for coming on.
Xanadu.
Do you want people to be able to find you online?
Sure. On the Twitters, I'm Stephen Inc. INK, and I am Stephen Inc. 1 on the Insta because some tattoo artist in LA got Stephen INK, so I'm Stephen INK.
What are you gonna do?
What are we gonna do? He beat me to it. So good luck to him.
Do you get tagged in his stuff a lot?
I don't think so. I don't think our worlds converge very often.
Okay,
I'm gonna go with no. There are sometimes things I'm tagged. I'm like, what is this? But I don't pay much attention to the. Yeah.
That's fair. It has been a delight to see you. I have missed you, friend, and I'm sure all of us have missed you, and it's really great to spend time with you. I just got my second dose a couple hours before recording this, so hopefully we're all leading into double dose summer pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
Really excited about that. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you're able to get your dosages as soon as humanly possible. And tell us about it. I don't know if you want on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Send us your vaccination photos. I love them. And you could also, rate and review us while you're getting your vaccination. 5 stars.
5 stars. Always 5 stars. Don't even think there are other ways to do this. And thanks as always to Andrea Gin, our producer and co-host during the pandemic days. And for watching all these musicals, I'm still rather stunned that this has happened on this podcast. So
No one was more stunned than me.
you're a changed person now.
Yeah.
You're a changed person. We're gonna and we'll have to do this again next year too. I mean,
yeah, of course. There's so many musicals we didn't do.
We didn't do that.
Technically,
And there will
we
be
still
more
have, like,
coming out.
So many good
Technically, we
musicals
still
out
have-
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and technically we have like at least I think one left. So anyway,
Yeah.
we'll see. All right.
All right.
Bye, friends. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Okay, bye.